Hi, my name is Dmitry and I'm the developer of InfraNodus, a visual co-pilot for thinking that helps you generate new ideas and insights using knowledge graphs. You can use it with any text, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can use InfraNodus to create a blog article just from your notes from Obsidian. So we'll be using Obsidian and the InfraNodus Graph View plugin, and I will also show you how you can use the new extension for Windsurf AI, Cursor AI, VS Code that allows you a little bit more detailed way of thinking. So I will start from some notes which I took in my Obsidian. I will show you also how I'm using Obsidian to kind of make some drafts about the topic that I want to write about. And then I will show you the whole process of using InfraNodus, identify the main topics inside, how you can also use it to generate some ideas using the built-in AI to kind of prime your thinking in a certain direction and stimulate yourself to write something about it. So it's also a really great way to overcome a writer's block or to make the ideas that were dispersed and fragmented coherent. So I'm going to show you how you do that. And I will show how you can do this inside Obsidian using InfraNodus here, and then how you can publish it on a blog. And I'm going to use my own real blog, polysingularity.com. So you will have a link to the article in the description to the video so that you can see the final result. And I'm going to do this in real time so that you can see my process step by step. And maybe you also want to repeat some of the workflows that I'm going to present today as well if you find them interesting. So keep watching if you want to learn more. And I'm going to put time codes to this video so that you can find the stuff that are more interesting for you if you want to skip forward, because that's going to be a real-time video. I was asked by one of the subscribers to do that, and I think it's a great idea to show it in real time, step by step. So let's dive in. First of all, let me explain to you how InfraNodus works. So InfraNodus is a text network analysis tool that visualizes any text as a network. The words or the concepts are the nodes, and the concurrences are the connections between them. And what it enables you to do is that based on this representation, you can show the text as a network graph, where you can also use the graph theory metrics to identify which concepts have higher influence, so they will be bigger on the graph, and which concepts belong to the same clusters. They will have the same color, and we call them topical clusters here, so you can see also which topics exist in your text. And it's a really great way to get an overview of your ideas, because you see not only what you're writing or thinking about, but also in which context. So for example, if I'm talking about self-victimization here, I see I'm talking about it in the same context as perseverance, and that makes a lot more sense than if I just saw a keyword, let's say, right? And then I see there's another cluster on people and truth here, for instance. So that's like a really great way to get an overview and to encourage yourself to think in terms of connections, because as soon as you see how things connect, obviously you will start thinking, how else can I connect those ideas better? So maybe perseverance can be linked to truth or people, you know, and what would be the connection between them? So you can do all that using the graph, and based on my research, I found that it's very stimulating to think in this way, and people report back that they have the same experience. Most importantly, you can also use the graph to identify the gaps between topics. So if you find two topical clusters that, for example, are less connected, you can highlight them in the graph and then think of a connection between them. So if it's something that you've been writing about, you might come up with a connection already. You can also look at the context and see what are the actual statements that represent those gaps and think of the connection yourself. And you can use the built-in AI to generate a question or an idea that will link those two clusters together. So that's also a really great way to make your thinking more coherent, especially when you're working with fragmented nodes, and to connect them together in interesting ways. So this is why the graph is super useful. And when it's built into a tool like Obsidian, which is a note-taking and knowledge management system, you can actually navigate across various ideas very easily, and you can also see what they're about. And the difference of this graph from the standard graph view in Obsidian is that the standard graph view in Obsidian, it visualizes wiki links. So Obsidian has special syntax where you can link concepts to each other. And the native graph view, maybe I can show you one if it gets activated here. Let me see. Yeah, so native graph view, it just shows you connections between things that have wiki links. So it's good to have like a general overview, but as you can see, once you get into a specific topic, like for instance, if I want to visualize incoming folder, I cannot even do that. So maybe I can do some search in it, but basically I would only see the connections that I create. But because I didn't make any manual connections here, I cannot see the graph. Whereas in InfraNodus, it's very simple. I just right click on the folder and then I click visualize an InfraNodus graph, and then it's going to take all those articles from the folder and visualize them and show me what are the concepts inside each of those nodes, how they're connected, so then I can have a more holistic view of my ideas, and I don't have to do this manual tagging myself. By the way, I can also do it on search results here. So if I make a search for something, maybe let's say I'm thinking about adversity or something like that, I can right click, visualize search snippets or all the pages found as a graph, and I can also do it on bookmarks as well. So if I accumulated some ideas here, I can also right click, visualize them as a graph. So I have several ways of visualizing groups of documents together, and it's really helpful because you can see how they are connected and you don't have to do any manual linking. So that's how InfraNodus can be very helpful. And you can also use InfraNodus inside the other tools. Like for instance here in Obsidian, one of the advantages of Obsidian is that it works with local folders. So all the files and folder structure here is on my local hard drive, but that means I can open it with another app. So for example, I'm using Windsurf AI to open that same bolt, and then I can use InfraNodus extension for Windsurf AI there, visualize those ideas. And the advantage is that it allows me a little bit more kind of advanced actions on my files. And also I can use the built-in chats, which are much more powerful in Windsurf AI than they are in Obsidian. There's not even AI chat here, but if you install any external plugin, it's not going to be as good as it is in Windsurf AI, because Windsurf AI is used by software developers to write code. So they really nailed the AI chat thing. And you can also install other extensions like Continue here, which is also really great. And you can then use it with any AI model. So that gives you flexibility to integrate AI into your workflow and then use the InfraNodus graph to know which parts of your content you should send to AI, which parts of your content you should be working with. Because if you just ask the AI to give you an idea, it's just going to scan everything, or you have to provide a context, but it's hard to know which context you want to provide. So this is why this extension of InfraNodus is really good, because it allows you to have a quick visual overview of the main ideas. It shows you patterns. We humans are very good in recognizing patterns, so it's very easy for us then to focus on the stuff that we find relevant. And then once we find that stuff relevant, we can copy and paste this cluster into the clipboard and then ask the built-in AI to generate some content that would relate to this specific idea. And then of course it would take into account the whole context, but it would really focus on what you wanted to explore. So this is why it's so powerful to also use other stuff in addition to Obsidian. I'm going to record another video on that, but for now I just wanted to show that you can actually combine those tools. And in the end of this video I will also show you how you can use version control, Git version control, to also analyze what you just added into your ideas and how you can kind of like review your work based on this approach that they usually use in programming, which is super powerful, I think. So that's how we're going to approach this. Now, if I want to write about something, the first thing I'm gonna do is to look through the notes that I have. So the way that I organize my Obsidian bolt is that I use temporality as the main criteria for folders. So some people don't use folders. I do, because I have a lot of projects I'm working on, and I like to separate them into folders because then I can have all those projects inside the same bolt, and that means I can find connections between those different projects easier, right? And if I have an idea that I'm adding into the system and I know what it belongs to, I'm going to add it into the folder of that project. So for example, here, if I'm thinking about polysingularity, my blog, then I'm going to add an idea there in incoming. But if I don't know what to actually categorize it as, I'm just gonna add it into the general incoming folder. And my process is to occasionally come back to this folder and to review it on a regular basis, and then to turn it into articles, or if it's product ideas, into Jira tickets, so that it's very practical. It never has too many notes. I'm always trying to kind of like either get rid of some stuff or to turn them into something, whether it's just an idea that I kind of formalize and give it a shape, and then I can just keep it with me, use it in my conversations with friends, or it can become an article, or it can be a product idea, or maybe an image, an artwork, and so on. So you really can adopt a similar approach by having a discipline to always remove stuff from your incoming folder. Is very good. So there I'm going to show you how I'm going to write a blog article based on the recent incoming notes that I made. So we have a folder here with different notes. They are a little bit like all over the place, many different topics. So instead of reviewing them all, I'm going to right click on this folder, or double tap if I'm on a Mac, and then click open in InfraNodus graph, and InfraNodus is going to visualize these ideas for me and show me the graph for them. So first of all, that enables me to see what are the main ideas inside very quickly and how they connect to one another. I see that those incoming notes are about perseverance and self-victimization. This is one topic. I have another topic on people and truth and belief, and then long-time context, and then also consumers and perpetrator of evil, absolve, and so on. So that reminds me what I've been thinking about. InfraNodus provides me a really nice high-level view of those ideas by showing me the main topical clusters. So here, if I click on topics, I can see the main topical clusters. I can see that there was a cluster on temporal dynamics, cultural resilience, ecological connectivity, life optimization, attention economy, genetic coding. So that already gives me a really nice overview of the main topics I've been talking about. And now if I want to write an article, it's up to me to choose which topic I'm going to focus on. And there you have several approaches. The way that I like to do is to choose a topic that I feel like writing now, because I think it's important to have a certain desire to explore it at that moment of time, and also something that's suitable for the context. So what I do first is that I go through all the topics that are identified in this incoming folder to find the ones that I really feel like focusing on at the moment. So I'm going to go through them one by one and see if there's something interesting in there. So I'm going to click on one topic, temporal dynamics. I'm going to look at the keywords. I can see that I'm talking about human, context, time, long, and then I'm going to click on locate to see actual statements where this topic, which this topic relates to, right? So there I see that there's some statement on understanding the context and how humans are much better at it than AI, so that the more context you can provide before and the more systematic your approach is, the more time you're going to save. So it's kind of like, if I click on open in the context, I will see in which node I was actually talking about that. So here I have a node on AI software development and how it influences me. And there it reminds me that I've been thinking about those context windows and how they affect our perception and expectation and so on. So that can be an interesting topic. It's this kind of temporal aspect of thinking and how AI helps me reflect on that. Could be an interesting topic to write about. Then I'm going to click through other nodes and see if there's anything else. So for example, here I see it's a completely different node on intelligent behavior and how it's not always the result of a conscious choice. So I'm going to click here and see in which context it appeared. And here it's about resilience actually, and how intelligent behavior is not always rational, but can come up from autonomic processes. So this is relating more to adaptation, resilience, and evolution. So that's great. It's also a topic of time, but somehow it's talking about how evolution forms some behavior. So a much longer time scale. And then here, another topic on DNA of thinking. So here I jump to another file, as you can see, and I can see that here is the statement that it's talking about a relationship between DNA and LLM AI model. So that's also pretty interesting to me. And it's also like a way of storing information in time, DNA. So that's great. Like there I understand what this topic was about now, and it reminds me some of the main ideas. And then there is also one on meme truth here, where I'm talking about memes and the temporal aspect of memes. So you see I'm talking about time in relation to AI DNA and memes. And that reminds me of what I've been talking about. And as you can see, it's quite a big topic. It has 31% of influence. This is the total influence of the nodes of the concepts inside this topic. So it's pretty influential in my incoming nodes. It means maybe it makes sense to focus on that one. Then I can move on to cultural resilience and see what this is about. I remember directly that it's about this concept of self-victimization and a link I'm making between that and perseverance. It's a very interesting topic, but it's a bit controversial, and it might also trigger some people. So I will not do this for this video because I want to do things live, and there, if I'm thinking about something like this, I will have to take long breaks to think how to phrase it better, to be more sensitive. And so probably I'm going to skip that. So you can see self-censorship ensures that we're not going to talk about this topic in this context. Then biological connectivity. It's this article I found on Aeon. I can actually click here. That is talking about worms and how they adapt to environment and nature. And it's a great topic, but I think I need a little bit more scientific background on that. So I need to make more research. So I'm going to skip that. Life optimization. I click locate and see where this appears, and this is more about like how you can optimize your workflow with AI. So that could be maybe an interesting topic as well, but it's a bit too practical for my mood today. Attention economy. That's interesting. Look, it's on the periphery of the graph, and this is why graphs are so great, because you can see that there's something that is like really apart from everything else. And usually my intention is to follow this route, because that means that there's something interesting there. It enables me to come out from the limitations of my thinking, so to say. Like I've been thinking about all those concepts, but this one is taking me outside. And also at the same time, you can see it as something that maybe should be connected to this topic better, right? So maybe it should be related more to the middle. So that could be a really interesting one to focus on. And it's talking about memes and truth and how people believe and how they trade those beliefs. I can see it from the nodes here directly. I can also, by the way, just click on the nodes themselves to see in which context they use. So if I click on truth and meme, for instance, and believe, so these three nodes, I can see that all of them are connected to people. And then if I click on concepts and I have them selected here, I click locate, I see directly, it does like a search to find all of those concepts here automatically in Obsidian, but I can also see in which context I was using it. So I jump directly to the document where I'm talking about this topic. So it's pretty neat because it allows me to jump directly to the document and the context where I'm using these topics. And this is a very interesting topic to explore. As you can see, I already have some notes in this document. So that could be something that I could focus on. And then let's see what other topics are. Genetic coding. So this is this DNA stuff. Interesting, but needs more research and moral responsibility. Yeah, this relates to this idea of perseverance and self-victimization. I remember that. But that's a controversial topic. I'm going to skip that. So now, after I make this review of the main topics, I know that the temporal dynamics and attention economy are going to be the two topics that I'm going to focus on. And as you can see here, when I select them like this, I can already see that they're not so well connected. So this is also a good sign that they have a connection, but not so much. And usually this is where the good ideas lie down. And this is why the graphs are so good for doing this sort of thing, because they allow you to understand what you can connect to generate insight, new ideas. Because insights are at those gaps. When you identify a gap, you can link ideas in a new way that you haven't done before. So you will have this eureka moment coming up, right? So this is interesting. And the way that I like to do that then is to start thinking about this connection. So what would be the relation between attention economy and temporal dynamics? In fact, what I can do inside InfraNodus is that I can look at the context. So then it will show me the statements that relate to those two topics. I can also, by selecting those, ask it to generate a summary for me, and then it's going to take the underlying graph structure, also the general graph structure and the statements that belong to these topics, and kind of come up with a little explanation of what this is about. So here it says that the text emphasizes the importance of context, suggesting humans excel at understanding it better than AI. It critiques fleeting meme truths, so here it's relating to memes and truths, and highlights self-victimization, so here relates to the main structure, as a means to absolve responsibility. The transience of truth is linked to a collective belief, short attention spans, and cultural mechanisms influencing power dynamics. So that is actually pretty interesting. I think what I can do is to already start developing it into an idea. So I actually like this link between self-victimization, even though I'm not going to write about it now. I'm going to copy this into clipboard and I'm going to go into the file on memes and I'm just going to add it in the end here. So I'm going to go to the edit mode so I can edit this file and add it here. And I'm going to edit it a little bit. So I don't need this, the text emphasizes the idea. I will just say that the transience of truth, I like this last sentence, the transience of truth is linked to collective belief, short attention spans, and cultural mechanisms influencing power dynamics. I like this, sentence. I think it's pretty cool. In fact, I even like the one before, fleeting meme truth, as a means to absolve responsibility. The transience of truth is linked to collective belief, short attention spans, and cultural mechanisms influencing power dynamics. So as you can see, I identified the gap, generated a summary of this gap, and then added some thoughts inspired by AI into my text. I can also do this idea, and then it's going to generate a more specific idea that relates to these two topics. So here, it's talking about ephemeral nature of meme truth driven by short attention spans and how it connects into enduring and fleeting understandings on human behavior and cognition. So that's also something I could do. I can also use this mode, which I really like, when it generates a question for me, so that I have to think of myself the answer. And here it says, how do AI models influence human perception of meme truths? And how does the prolonged context in AI processing impact the short-lived belief and trading behaviors in meme-driven markets? Great. I mean, what a nice idea. I will definitely add it here as a question, and I'm going to already start writing about this topics of memes, but linking it to AI, because I didn't talk about AI in this document yet. So as you can see, I'm already developing this idea further by focusing on this question of AI. So here I'm going to say maybe how do AI models influence human perception of meme truth? So I will even rewrite this as an answer. AI models increase the intensity of memes because they can produce them in huge amounts, but as the context window increases, here I'm referring to this idea of the context window I was talking about before, they become more prone to hallucinations. So even a slightest trace of rationality is lost, which makes beliefs even more short-lived and produces bizarre trading behaviors in meme-driven markets fueled by algorithms. So that's kind of like a draft that I'm adding to the end of this text, and then I'm going to integrate it into the whole narrative. And what I also want to show you is that once I kind of added some thoughts and I really decided, okay, I'm going to focus on this meme idea, I can then review those topics again and make some kind of checkpoint list of what I'm going to write about. And the way that I'm going to do this is by focusing on the whole graph and then generating a summary for it. And once I generate a summary, then I'm going to go and generate an outline for this. So I'm going to click on summary here. It's going to take the whole graph structure of this document that I'm analyzing now. Actually, sorry, I'm now in the folder incoming, so I have to analyze this document. I'm going to click on the button here to analyze this document because I'm going to go into that document. And there I'm going to ask it to generate a summary of this document based on the graph structure. And here it says the concept explores the concept of meme truth, where beliefs are temporary, driven by collective buy-in, short attention spans, and cultural influences. It warns of nihilism and wealth inequality, fueled by AI and fleeting trends, leading to unsustainable economic behaviors. So I like this idea. I'm going to add it at the top, and you will see why I'm going to do this. Let's see if there's any other ones. Other summaries, maybe some other explanations. So here, impermanence of truth in meme-driven markets, where beliefs are temporary and driven by collective buy-in. AI amplifies meme intensity, leading to bizarre trading behaviors. Okay, and then let's make one more. So I kind of like to do 3 iterations just to get like a nice summary. Transit nature of meme truths, driven by collective beliefs, though truth inflate value temporarily, leading to speculative trading behaviors. As AI intensifies meme production, rationality diminishes, fueling bizarre. This is also nice. I'm going to add this here. And I will just cut it like this. As AI meme truths. Okay, and then I'm also, so I generated a summary of the whole document based on this graph structure. What I can also do is to copy those topics and paste them here. And as you can see, it kind of copies everything, but what I can do is just to keep only the stuff that I have as the name. So I don't need the keywords. I'm just gonna take the names for those clusters. And this I do because I want to make sure that I'm covering all those topics equally. Some of them, they have less influence. Perhaps I want to focus a little bit more of them. So here I'm going to say like, okay, so one is about meme trade, attention spans, rational demand, nihilism, prep, human impermanence, cultural mechanism, and so on. Now I'm going to organize it into to-do list where I'm going to specify the stuff that I'm going to talk about in this document, that I should be talking about in this document. And I'm going to make sure that I'm mentioning all those topics. So I will write, the first one is about the fleeting nature of memes. The second one is about attention spans, rational demand, cultural influences. So you see I'm kind of going through this summary and I'm going through those topics as well, making sure that I have like a to-do list of the topics that have to be there. And then impermanence, then community aspect, speculative behavior, nihilism, AI influence. Okay, so there I'm going to mention those, and now I will just review if I covered all the topics. I think I did. I think I should also add this one, cultural mechanism of making society more adaptive through a mutation. So that was like another idea that was present in those topics that I should add. And here's how I'm going to sort of represent this plan, and then I'm going to read through this text that I wrote, or the notes which I made, and make sure that I covered all those topics. And then it's going to be like a checklist that I'm going to mark off and say like, okay, am I talking about this? Yes. Am I talking about that? Yes, and so on. So there I'm going to start reading and seeing if I'm mentioning everything that I would like to mention, and that also the system identified as the main topics. And by the way, here we have this one little cluster on community, and you see it's not so connected to the main thing. So here I should also make sure that I really talk more about it and link it to other topics. So really elaborate a little bit more on the community topic. And this is why the graph is so useful, because I see there's this little cluster kind of floating on its own, so it would be nice to link it. Another way to see what I should develop is to go in the gaps and try to identify the gaps between the clusters, and then generate some connections, some ideas based on those. So for example, cultural mechanism and human impermanence. I'm going to click on idea, and then here it says that instability and impermanence drive human behavior. People navigate a world of fleeting truths and shifting power, often prioritizing immediate gains over responsibility or accountability. This dynamic reflects a societal shift towards nihilism, where cultural mechanism and personal actions are influenced by unstable conditions and lack of enduring. So this is kind of nice because it reminds me how I can connect those ideas better. And this is also what I'm going to use to make this text more coherent. And by the way, you always have this analysis here. So when you unclick all these options, you have the diversity measure here. And when it's optimal, it means it's good. When it's dispersed, it means you should connect the ideas a little bit better. When it's biased or focused, it means your ideas are too interconnected. So InfraNodus is going to motivate you to disperse your thinking a little bit more. So in this case, it's already at the optimal stage, but it's quite high, the modularity, because you see up to 60% is optimal. So it's almost on the verge of disperse. This is why, while it's advising me to explore and kind of develop every topic, which is what I'm doing now through this checklist, making sure that I'm talking about each of them and I'm talking about them in detail, I'm still going to focus on making connections between them. So this is kind of like the general guideline. This is the copilot aspect of this, like where I should be going. So let's now start writing this document. Okay, so what happened here is that my recording software crashed and I went a little bit ahead, but that's a good thing because I was writing quite slowly and just adding some stuff. And that gives me an opportunity to fast forward this demonstration, but also to show you another feature from Windsurf AI, where I can visualize the changes that I made to the document. So basically, we're on the same page here because I have this to-do list, which was slightly modified based on the topics that I identified, making sure that I don't miss them. And then I was reading through this document and just fixing some sentences that I was making and marking those off as I was going along. So I organized them in a chronological order, enhanced them a little bit to make them a bit more detailed. And then I'm just reading through my notes and kind of moving the notes around, fixing some of them and so on. And if you want to see what I added, I will show you here. So I have the Windsurf AI open, and it's pretty amazing because when you use a tool for software development for your thoughts, you can use all the utilities that software developers have for tracking changes in software. And it's really amazing, actually. This stuff, if you don't know it, it's called Git diff. So Git is the software, open source software. Diff stands for difference. And basically it shows you what you added, how it's different from the latest commit. So what you can do when you program is that every time you make a change, you commit this change. So here you can see on my screen, it's the history of the commits that I made to this vault, because I'm doing that. I make a change and then I make a commit. So that means that this change is saved, but that means that I can always roll back to the state of that vault at the time where I was, for example, confirm incoming ideas from AI, update distortion ideas. So you can see I have like a history of my thought recorded here, and I know exactly what I changed when. So for example, right now, I can click on that very last change that I made, which was before the video broke off, and this was the stuff that I was writing about. I made this history list and some ideas to add to the sorry, my Siri is reacting for no reason. And some ideas that I wrote down. So for example, if I want to make sure that they're not lost, I can always come back to them and save them. So I'm just going to copy this section to make sure it's there. But now if I want to see the changes that I made just recently, I click on this file directly and I see with this green what was actually added just recently and what was added in the latest commit. So if I come back to my Git here, I can see that in this particular file, so let me just check this one here. I can see that in this particular file, mean truth, I have this added. So I added the list of the topics. I kind of rewrote those topics that I originally had as something new. So you see with the green, this is what I added. Then I went to read through this text and I just modified this few sentences a little bit. I will show you what exactly I changed. And then I also modified this paragraph, this paragraph, this paragraph, and I went to the middle of the text and almost towards the end, and then I'm missing some stuff here. So I'm gonna come back to it and show you what I did. But basically, this is great because it allows me to see what exactly I changed, what I added, and most importantly, if I then would like to analyze what I did, I can always go and right-click on this one and then visualize this diff as a graph. So I can visualize not just the file itself, but the differences that I added to show me what I've been thinking about it and how I modified the text. So that's pretty neat, and I really like this approach. And I invite you to use it also. It's a bit more complicated technically, but it can be pretty nice because you can always track what you added and how it evolves. So let's go back to our document. We have this one in Obsidian here. What I was doing is that I was reading through my notes and reorganizing them. And basically when you write, you have several approaches to how you want to organize your text. There's an approach that's called the inverted pyramid, where you start with a sort of quick summary of what the text is about, and then you start unfolding it in longer and longer iterations. That's what's usually used in newspapers because of a short attention span. So you want to just say in the first sentence what it's about, and then you kind of unroll it further and further. This is why it's called inverted pyramid, because you start with the small and then you go bigger and bigger and longer and longer. For my blog, Polysingularity, I like writing in a more sort of poetic way. So I'm just gonna start with some claims and sentences, and then I'm going to unfold them. So it requires a little bit more investment of attention on the side of the readers, but it anyway is working because then you kind of get into it more, so to say. So I'm going to show you how I went through this. I have this checklist of the topics that I want to make sure I'm talking about. Then I'm reading my notes. So for example, here it says, in the world of meme truth, there's no truth that lasts for a long time. So that will be the first statement of the text. I think that works. A truth can be truth for a while, and then it may not be true anymore. On the one side, there's a certain lightness about it. Impermanence is a part of human existence. Nothing is stable, the world is in flux. On the other side, everything can be taken away at any moment. You may get rugged, that's a term they use in the meme coin culture, and dumped. There's no responsibility in that world. If you believe a meme truth, you accept that most likely it's only for a short while. Now, why would you choose to believe in it? So this is the first paragraph. I go back to my topics and I say, okay, this is checked off. Like I talked about this, so this is good. I mark it off as something that's off my list. Now I come back to the text and I go, they say that it's fun and you get a sense of community, but let's be honest, there are cheaper way and more interesting ways to get engaged, so that must be not it. So there I'm referring to the idea of the community, and it can be interesting, maybe to elaborate a little bit more on that. So probably I might say that some people pay for the sense of belonging. So that's kind of elaborating a little bit more on this idea, kind of fixing this note, making it a little bit more concrete. And then the next one is, the strongest motivation is usually because you can benefit from this meme truth somehow. I choose to believe in this because everyone else believes in it at the moment. The more people buy into the truth, the more inflated it becomes. The better I can trade it, the more I can make from it. Short attention span, ADHD investing, riding the wave of a trend, getting crushed by the wave. Rabbit holes of fads, fake it till you make it, deny, 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 move on. As soon as the interest fades, we get off and move on. So that's actually pretty interesting because I'm kind of mentioning this idea that it's about riding the trend. So I'm gonna probably check this off also because this is the temporary trend. And then the next topic is, in some scenarios, this temporary nature of meme truth is accepted. One can also feel good that some people who were into this truth earlier than them made some money of it. Or maybe it was just fun, unless you invested too much, of course, because there's definitely cheaper entertainment. So maybe this I can remove and say that one can also feel good that some people who were into this truth earlier made some money of it. That way we encourage the early believers, and for some it may be a good thing. Okay, so it's kind of like this idea that we encourage the early believers, and then for some it might be something good. So that's marking off this part that the real return is not necessary. You also invest into it because you're sort of rewarding those reward the early believers. For some it may be a good thing. Okay, the fundamental element of this, however, is that to benefit from the truth, you have to sell some of it. Truth is a meme: try before you buy before you, because you believe. You don't sell everything at once, however, because you might scare everyone off. Sell a little bit of your truth because others might be into it also. In the best case scenario, the truth maintains for a long period of time. More and more people buy into it, more and more people want to trade it. The price therefore increases as long as there's an ongoing increase in demand. That can only be generated by some real value behind. If there's no value, it's going to die out eventually. I will also write attention economy here, because that's what it's referring to. That's where the problem begins. In the end, every investor goal is to make money. So this is actually a quote from a conversation I was having on Discord with somebody, and I usually like to inject my texts with snippets of real conversations, of course anonymous. But it's kind of like nice because as I'm thinking about this stuff, I'm also talking about them. So I put this in here to kind of keep track of that. And then I think here we're still talking about the inflationary aspect. So I'm going to kind of say that inflationary aspect. So it's like another topic I actually covered there, which was not in the list, but it can be good to kind of explore it in this way. And then let's move on and see if it's accepted that truth is a meme, then it has to be an important short-lived nature. So this is about the short-lived nature of it. Otherwise it would be a small cap or a stock, something you can hold on to, something you can actually generate value over time. If you invest into a meme, you spread your attention to things, the majority of which are not going to take off. In fact, you even accept that none of them are going to the moon, and that's a term they use when it exponentially rises, and are going to stay there for a while. You're just hoping to get off before everyone else will come back to Earth. So this is kind of like to play with this metaphor of going to the moon. If you invest into a meme, you might also do it because you want to bring your attention to something. So these are the stuff that I was kind of like adding when I was writing, when the video broke off. And I was writing this because I wanted to make sure that we cover also this topic of investment as a way to bring attention to something. Okay, so here I was kind of elaborating on this topic that if you invest into a meme, you might also do it because you want to bring attention to something. So this is what I added just now. It may be a small thing that you like, or a trend, or a certain way of seeing the world. The investment is much more than just sharing it. The investment in this case is much more than just sharing it on the social media. You actually put some money into it. It becomes a medium for storing value. You might also lose everything if nobody else pays attention. So you take the risk to make something more known. Promotion, charity. And then fast forward. So that's kind of talking about this part. Societal aspect I have, but it would be nice to get it more developed, because as you remember, it was a little bit on the fringe of the graph. So perhaps I keep this question mark here to say that I want to develop it further. And then I have this one left, right? So there was also this societal nihilism and future risks of wealth concentration. And I think this is the one that I'm talking about next, actually. So kind of going into the doomed scenario. Fast forward, imagine the future. Everything is in the hands of a few. Many of the people become so poor that they're ready to gamble the very little they have, so they invest into memes hoping to get off before everyone else will. Or maybe they hope to bring attention to something, just how it happens in real life. Over a period of time, there will be redistribution of wealth to those with a bit more resources and power than those who don't. Power laws will do their work. So those who have less will be left with nothing, and they will accept that as an outcome, and some of them, I think, will accept it as an outcome and are even already prepping for that. The preppers, weapons, supplies, this kind of thing, ready for raw brutal tribalism, playing it out and even accelerating its arrival. Accelerationism, nihilism at its finest, or maybe, because it's not always that, no truth, no responsibility, no accountability. Maybe also stupidity, just because it rhymes sometimes. But that's the worst case scenario. So here I'm covering this topic of nihilism, future risks, and nihilism. Okay, and then we have a little intermission here. That's the worst case scenario. These are also quotes from the conversation. It's crazy how fast this world is. You just need to know how to play it. Knowledge is key. And then I added knowing how to play the world. So this was when the video broke off. I added that. But what becomes the world itself? What becomes of the world itself? So here I'm kind of like trying to think also positively about it. And to continue writing, I have these texts here. One is on resilience and memes as resilience concepts, or as sort of agents of resilience. And I actually have 2 statements here on that. And then I have 2 statements on AI. So formally, I almost covered all these topics, because here is the one about memes. So I'm just gonna put like work in progress and AI. And there is this open one questioning the sustainability of long-lived truths, but I mean that's like an open subject. Let's keep it here for now. So I only have these 2 left, and then the text is complete. And what I'm gonna do here is that I'm just gonna kind of try to summarize them actually. So what I can do inside InfraNodus is that I will take this text, and then I'm going to make a new incoming node, just call it temporary, paste this here, and then I'm going to visualize this node as a graph, so I can just work with this thought, with this sort of snippet of an idea that relates resilience to adaptability. And then I'm just going to ask the built-in AI to summarize it for me. So it's going to use the graph structure. It's going to be very coherent in relation to those ideas. And here it says memes like seeds express resilience concepts, enhancing adaptability similar to seeds dispersed by the wind. They influence cultural adaptation and global resilience. Meme dynamics, driven by collective belief, impact societal attention shifts like genetic coding, with intelligence guiding those changes. Okay, so that's interesting. I think there I take this idea, I go back to meme truth, and I'm gonna add this here. But what becomes of the world itself? And here I can go memes can also be seen as the agents of mutation. Sometimes they spread pathological patterns, but sometimes they might also enhance adaptability, similar to seeds. I mean, how it kind of came up with this dispersed by the wind. I mean, it's not even seeds, similar to various evolutionary accidental evolutionary changes that actually were of benefit, The influence cultural adaptation and global this is a bit of a big statement, so let's get rid of that. Meme dynamics driven by collective belief impact societal attention shifts like genetic coding, with intelligence guiding these changes. And then I'm going to say, so this maybe is good to link to the, I'm gonna take this stat here, this propagation may aid cultural adaptation, collective global resilience, multiple points of view, diversification. So it's kind of like to say that, okay, memes can also be seen as the agents of mutation. Sometimes they might be pathological, but at other times they might also introduce some changes into the system that might be of benefit, and they might in fact aid cultural adaptation, because we see a meme, we connect over different societies, geographies, and in fact it might make us also more resilient as society, or we might connect on the basis that we didn't expect yet. So this is also kind of like a positive aspect of a meme, and it would be great to also have meme coins that kind of explore that, and also meme truths that explore that as well. I guess cats in a way play this role because they're cute, and cuteness is maybe a nice connector, but maybe it's too much of a normalized connector now. Maybe there should be something else. But in general, that would be kind of the development of this thought. Then this we don't, this I like because with intelligence, AI intelligence, this is just a draft. I'm going to get rid of this. Then I'm going to try to answer this question: how the meme truth driven by collective belief and rapid trade compared to genetic coding. So here I have genetic coding, evolutionary mutations, I mentioned that already, and intelligence. Okay, we have the connection. And then let's analyze this one. So I'm going back to this one, visualize. And here, again, I have a graph that shows me, you know, what are the main ideas inside. So it's about trading behavior and AI and how it influences the trading behavior and the relation of hallucinations. So I kind of remember this triangulation of thought that I had when I was thinking about this. And again, I can generate an idea from it, and then it's going to take the whole graph structure and kind of try to come up with something interesting that I can use to bounce off my own thinking. So here it says AI boosts meme virality, but excessive content leads to informational overflow, making memes and beliefs short-lived. This creates bizarre behaviors in markets driven by algorithms, as AI's context awareness can also increase hallucinations. So that's a great summary actually of what I wanted to say. Let's add it into this file on memes. We're gonna go here and add it here. That's like a nice summary. And then what I'm also gonna do here, I'm also gonna use this graph to generate, to kind of focus on some specific topics. So for example, viral awareness, I like that. Let's try to generate an idea just based on this. You see how useful to have a graph, because you can use it to enforce a certain structure, but you can also focus on a certain aspect and then generate an idea just based on this aspect. So here it says AI can boost memes virality by generating vast content quickly. However, this can lead to an overflow, making memes short-lived. As context window grow, AI might hallucinate, causing irrational beliefs and bizarre market behaviors. So here, irrational beliefs, bizarre, irrational beliefs, and bizarre behaviors and markets driven by algorithms as AI content can also, as the context grows, AI starts to hallucinate. Okay, we have that. And then I like this rational hallucination. What is this about? Let's see, generate an idea based on that. Generate and amplify rational market behavior. So again, we are just making sure we're focused on that. As context expands, they risk hallucinations losing rationality. This leads to fleeting beliefs in strange trading patterns. Okay, we already have that one. And then let's try the other one. So I will reset the selection. We move on to the other topics. Content overflow. Do we have this? Excessive content, yes. Algorithmic market. Not really. Yeah, well, markets driven by algorithms. So that can be something, and bizarre trading. So great, we covered all these topics in this one sentence. You see, because we use the graph to generate this sentence and then we kind of fix it a little bit, we make sure that all these main topics are covered inside. Viral awareness. I will actually write this, I like this name, viral awareness, rational hallucination, content overflow. Okay, great. Now let's context and then become more prone to hallucination. So I will actually use this sentence that I wrote myself here instead of the one that was generated by AI. Okay, great. So let's reread the whole thing. If the observation takes a long time. So sorry, I just kind of distracted here because I wanted to finish this sentence. So here we have, you see this idea of what happens to the world. Then we say that memes can be seen as the agents of mutation, sometimes they spread pathological patterns that may eventually lead to destruction, or let's say extinction to be more dramatic. But sometimes they might also enhance adaptability, similar to various accidental evolutionary changes that were of benefit eventually. This propagation may aid cultural adaptation and collective global resilience. Multiple points of view, diversification. Everyone gets into something, into the same thing for a short moment of time, resonating across cultures, geographies, political camps, and beliefs. That may be the unifying power of memes, and those kind of memes are probably worth investing in. Okay, so that's great. There I cover this topic of cultural resilience, and then the final one of AI. I can say that meme dynamics driven by collective belief impact over time. I can say meme dynamics driven by collective belief impact societal attention shifts like genetic coding. With as of 2025, AI intelligence is also guiding these changes, because that's what's happening. Viral awareness, rational hallucination, content overflow. AI boosts meme virality, but excessive content leads to informational overflow. So there I already wrote this, gonna remove this, making memes and beliefs short-lived. Or, yeah, too much content, so not too much attention span. But as the context window increases, they become more prone to hallucinations, so even the slightest trace of rationality is lost. So maybe I can be less extreme here. So rationality is lost. The beliefs become even more short-lived and produce bizarre trading behaviors in meme-driven markets. Okay, so that could be kind of like a fantasy of what's going to happen in the future. And now, as the final touch for this text, so I'm gonna remove this because I covered all those topics. So my checklist is complete. I have more or less the structure. Of course, I'm going to come back to edit this text later, The sustainability of long-lived truth. I mean, this is maybe for another time. And then what I like to do is that I'm going to visualize this new text now again with InfraNodus and kind of get like an overview of the main ideas again. See if I'm really talking about the stuff that I would like to cover here. So this is the map of my thinking here. Truth meme is a strong connection. It's bold. Attention, invest. So this is like a nice square structure here. Truth, meme, okay, and then attention and investment. Okay, and then it's connected short trend. So there I'm really covering this idea. You're investing attention, and what do you invest attention in? These are the questions that I want to raise. And then I also have this cluster on hallucination. The structure of my text is optimal, so that's good. It means it's coherent, not too dispersed, not too focused. So this is how I'm going to check if I need to maybe connect those ideas more or if I need to disperse. But here, structurally, I'm more or less okay. I will go into the topics and see what are the main topics. So meme trade, very good. Accidental hope, I like this, very poetic name. I will actually add it. Accidental. I like this kind of short statements also inside the text because it changes the rhythm, and yeah, those ideas are pretty good for that. Investment scenario, so that's good because I'm talking about the different investment strategies, cultural beliefs, so how it affects culture, fake trends, this is good. Brutal arrival, wow. Yeah, this is my doomsday scenario, weaved into the narrative, very good. And then wealth redistribution, yes, we talked about that. Global resilience, how memes increase that, ongoing demand, prepper outcome, genetic shift, even DNA a little bit engaged sense. So if I would now like to develop this text further, what I find really helpful is to go into gaps. It identifies the gap, and then I generate a question and try to think of the question. In fact, when I even finished writing text, I sometimes come back to my original text and do this feature, also using the InfraNodus extension here. So for example, if I have a text on freedom, I will open the extension and then I will go into gaps, and this is like a way of talking to this text, but in a very interesting way because I'm connecting ideas that are not yet connected. So I'm using the text as an excuse to start thinking in a certain direction. Here it says, how does the interplay between habitual behavior shaped by biological needs and the quest for self-liberation influence one's ability to redefine achievement? So how we can achieve in a different way, not based on our biological needs and or self-liberation. So you see, I'm kind of like, I take this text, which was on freedom and habits, and use it to develop ideas further. And this is what I also do here, but it's also really great for writing because it gives me inspiration for what else I can add. So here it says, how do memes as cultural investments influence global attention patterns and collective resilience, considering the risks of financial loss and the impermanence of trends within the evolving digital worlds. So definitely people are less likely to invest into something long-term as there is more and more of these short cycles coming up. So this is somehow maybe something I should add actually. So as you can see, and in fact this relates to this point that I removed that I didn't write about, like the long-term implications, right? So maybe here is a good thing to do. The beliefs become even more short-lived and produce bizarre trading behaviors in meme-driven markets. Accidental hope, despair, new cycle. It becomes hard to invest in a trend that would take a long time to unfold when you can scalpel. This is a term they use in trading, short-lived truths, or at least when you think you can do that. So that's kind of relating the answer to this question based on this gap investment scenario, accidental hope. So the risks, the impermanence of trends, and how it actually makes people focus more on short-lived stuff. Hard to invest in a trend that would take a long time to unfold. So that's kind of like this question of whether this meme culture, when applied to financial trade, whether it makes people also believe less in things that take longer time to come to fruition, right? Like some things they take years to develop, and when money and attention is directed to short-term stuff, the long-term stuff are underdeveloped, and that might be a negative outcome. When time and attention are devoted to short-lived fads, it becomes very hard to build sustainable value. So either the notion of value changes, or we just enter a new world where it's more about knowing how to play the fast changing world rather than contribute to it in a way that is bringing consistent value. So something like this, it's a bit more of a critical take on that. And then I would reload the gap and try to think of some other stuff, like for instance here, this brutal doomsday scenario and fake trend. And then I'm going to ask it to bridge the idea. It's the same thing as if I clicked on the question. And here it says, how does the interplay between meme-driven investment trends and accelerationist nihilism shape societal behaviors towards tribalism and wealth redistribution in a world of fleeting truths and short attention span? So again, this kind of idea of nihilism and its connection to behavior and tribalism and wealth redistribution. So maybe perhaps like, does it increase as people lose more and more? Perhaps they become more desperate also. So that's another topic that I could maybe unfold. And that means I would come back to this doomsday scenario and add some more stuff here. So this is a really helpful approach to kind of give some final touches to your text by focusing on those gaps and then developing those ideas further. So I will stop here. I hope you find it useful. Please try it out with your own texts. And also don't forget that like once you do all that, you can go to the software development app and you see it has all the changes here, and then I can visualize just the changes I added. So I can also keep track of the additions that I made to my text since the last time I started. So that's great because I can see I added some stuff on meme evolution, temporal trends, financial engagement. So it's kind of like it helps me trace how I changed my thinking over time. So that can also be very helpful to use this environment to write your thoughts, because you can actually see what you added and you can analyze just your additions and see how you can develop them further. Okay, so now is the last step. I'm going to publish this text that I just wrote on my blog, Polysingularity. In order to do it, I'm going to go to the edit mode, copy the text, go back to the blog, go to dashboard. I'm using WordPress as a blog platform, and then I go add new post, simply paste this text here, and I will call it meme truth, and find some kind of like nice byline here. So maybe something from here like this, meme truth. And then I also need to select or make like a little excerpt for that. And in order to do it, I'm going to actually go back here and just ask it to generate an idea based on the whole graph of this text. And usually that's quite a nice representation of the whole thing. So I'm gonna also add the categories here that I usually use for my stuff. And here is the excerpt, so that will be shown as a preview when people look at that post. Here it is. And what I also like to do is to then try to generate some kind of image for it. And a great way to generate an image is just to make a summary And then what I can do after is copy this text, go to Discord. I'm going to choose the Midjourney bot, and then I will use the command imagine. And then I'm going to make a prompt that is just the summary of this graph. And I'm probably going to ask it to reduce the style, so I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to generate an image for it. And let's see what it comes up with. So it's going to take a moment. Maybe use this one, and then upscale. Then I can open this image in browser separately. And then I'm going to upload this image and then set it as a featured image and finally publish the whole text. And here we have the final result. If we come on the main page, just need to make it featured so that it's shown. So I'm just gonna go back here, go back to the posts, and let's see, meme truth. So I'm just gonna make this post sticky. It's gonna be shown on the front page, and we're gonna be good to go. So as you can see here, I have my final text and the whole discourse here. So that's how it would work from the very beginning to the very end. We have a new post online. So try it out on InfraNodus.com. That's where you can download it. You need a subscription, and then you just put the API key into the extension. Make sure you do the settings right that suit to your organizational structure, and don't forget that you can analyze not only folders but also search results if you right-click here, or even bookmarks. So you don't have to use folders. You can also select a few documents, bookmark them, and then analyze the bookmark folder or the search results. So that's how you would use it in Obsidian. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, comments, feedback. Please subscribe to this channel so that you can get informed when the new videos are out, and let me know your impressions. Thank you.